Hey guys, so today I'm going to talk about some recent changes that I made to my rifle and give you a little bit of background on why I made those choices. All right, so in the past I have built my rifles myself or assembled them and or had someone else assemble my rifles for me. And I really just wanted to have that, OEM manufacturer rifle experience and really see, is it worth, spending the extra dollar on, a factory rifle? And the answer really for me is yes. Most rifle manufacturers have put a lot of thought into the assembly process, the port sizing on the barrels, and the triggers and whatnot, and really the overall durability of the rifle. What I've experienced in the past with building my own rifles is I'm constantly removing, changing parts to find out what works for me and how to make the rifle run the smoothest. It's a troubleshooting process, and in the long run, it can be costly. It does add up. So kind of getting into the nuts and bolts here of this rifle and kind of why I do the things that I do. Starting off with the suppressor. I have a Cat white bread suppressor. They're fairly new to the game as far as in the commercial market. In the past, I've ran the Huxworks Flow 5.56 can, and I love it. Fantastic, very durable can, super low back pressure. I can't even tell that I put a can on the rifle. Fantastic. I wanted to try something new, so I picked up one of these Cat cans, and what I've noticed is the performance is very, very similar, right? As far as the flow-through capabilities of this can, super low back pressure. I would say it has slightly a little bit more back pressure than the Huxworks can, but the benefit that comes from that is the sound that comes from this can is much more enjoyable to bystanders. As the shooter, I honestly can't tell a difference, but to the people around me, this can sounds a lot better. So take that for what it's worth. This can performs very well. Currently, it's direct mounted to this barrel. Moving over to the light, I have a Modlite OKW on this. In the past, I have ran a lot of cloud defensive lights, and the performance is great. I've had a good experience with cloud, but as always, I'm experimenting, I'm trying out new products. So for this rifle, I opted with the Modlite OKW head with the Arisaka light body and Arisaka light mount. I would say performance-wise, the cloud high candela light versus this Modlite OKW, they're very similar in performance. I've noticed that this Modlite does have a slightly tighter hotspot, so for those longer distance shots, that is definitely beneficial. Also, when this light is turned on and it might splash against a wall, it is super clean, whereas the cloud defensive might have a slight blue ring or hue around that splash. I've had some cloud lights that don't have that blue ring and some that do, and I believe most of that comes from the coating that is put on the lens of the cloud defensive lights to get the performance that they're looking for. In my experience, both lights are great. I think it just comes down with a user preference on that, but this OKW performs very, very well. Moving on to the laser illuminator, the B. Meyers MAWL, I have been super pleased with this. So I have a little bit of experience with, say, a D-ball or a DIRV, which I also own, and what I've noticed is that with the MAWL, you have a super nice, clear laser, and the illuminator is very crisp and clean. There's the switchology on this MAWL is very intuitive to me. You have near and far distances that you can switch in between, and you have a higher throw mode that you can override and switch into as well. It's just super easy to manipulate under nods in the dark. And some of the switches on the other lasers aren't nearly as intuitive to me, and the performance has been great. It is a spendy unit, so I only have one, but I very much like it. Moving down a little bit, just to touch quickly on, I have rail scales on this rifle. Most of my short guns are gonna have rail scales. They protect my hands if I don't have gloves on. I can run the piss out of the rifle, and if the barrel heats up, my hand's not gonna burn. So I do like rail scales. I have a small Picatinny section from BCM on here, And that's so if I want to, I can throw a bipod on this thing, or I can throw the rifle on a tripod, and if need be. That's not really what this rifle is built for, but if I need to do it, I can do it. And it gives me a nice little index point that doesn't get in the way like a hand stop or whatever, which I'm not a huge fan of. But moving back to the optics, plural, right? So I have 2 red dots on this thing, starting with the primary aiming device here. I have an Eotech. So in the past, I've ran really primarily Aimpoint T2s. They're super robust, very durable optics, extremely long battery life on those things, and I love them. But it is just a simple red dot. And as I've got into a little bit more of long distance shooting, I've learned the importance of being able to mill things out and measure things out at distance, so I can try to get a rough estimate at the range that those targets are at. And the Eotech provides a reticle where I can easily mill those targets downrange, communicate with others that might be on spotters or other rifles, and give them a range estimate using that reticle. People might question the durability and reliability of the Eotech, but what I trust is what I've personally seen other guys do, not just heard, right? So I know a lot of guys that run Eotechs, and they run the crap out of them and they beat them up each and every day, and it has been a reliable optic for them. So my experience may vary, but so far it has been a great optic. Has this great large window in it as well. Over on the side, you'll see an Aimpoint Acro P2. This is mounted in the 45-degree offset with an Arisaka mount. You might ask, why do I have 2 red dots on my rifle? The answer is, right now, currently, there's a ton of reasons that we can talk about in another video as to why you might want to do this. But my reason currently is because it provides a nice backup aiming system for this rifle. That's it. I don't have irons on it. I have a laser as an aiming device. I have a primary aiming device here, and then I have a third aiming device over here as another backup method. That's all I have to offer on that right now. I like it. Try it out. For all you haters out there, try it out before you talk too much crap. All right. Moving down on the rifle, I did have to swap out the trigger on this rifle. It came with a Radian trigger shoe, but it was manufactured by Timney, single stage trigger. One, I'm not a fan of single stage triggers on really any rifle currently, and it just felt like crap, to be honest with you. So instead of going with a Geisy like I do on all of my other rifles, I wanted to again try something new, and this is the Sons of Liberty Gunworks trigger that has a very nice shape to it. It's more of a flat face trigger, which I do prefer on my shorter guns, but it has that little kick out on the bottom to give me a nice consistent purchase if I might take those longer distance shots. It has a really nice solid reset. You can feel that the springs within the trigger were played with a bit to get the feel that this trigger has. So I think a little bit of thought went into that, and so far I dig it. The only other thing that was really changed on this rifle was the buffer system. This is a 10.5, so it is pretty punchy out the box. So I put an A5 buffer system in this thing. All of my rifles have the A5 buffer system, and they tend to soften all of my rifles up a little bit, so this thing is running nice and smooth the way that it is. And B5 stock on the back, and of course a Flatline Fiber Co padded sling. So that's kind of a brief overview of this rifle. Again, I love it. It's a super solid built rifle. It's actually looks very heavy, but it isn't. It's very maneuverable. But anyway, guys, if you have any questions, drop it down in the comment section. As always, let's have a conversation. And if you don't agree with me with some of my choices, let's debate about it down in the comment section. If you have any questions, hit us up on Instagram, drop it down in the comment section, go to the website, flatlinefiberco.com.